The United States and the Afghan Taliban have made significant progress in talks as per reports. Taliban officials said US negotiators had agreed on a draft peace pact setting out the withdrawal of foreign troops from Afghanistan within a period of 18 months. The US envoy to Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, took to Twitter saying that he is going to Afghanistan for consultations with the government. He said that the meetings with the Taliban were more productive than in the past and there has been significant progress made. Khalilzad said, and I'm quoting, "Nothing is agreed until everything is agreed, and everything must include an intra-Afghan dialogue and comprehensive ceasefire." The US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo took to Twitter saying that he had received encouraging news from Khalilzad about the talks. Remember, it was in Davos this week, Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani had said that any eventual truce between the insurgents and Afghanistan must respect his country's constitution and legal framework. Earlier, sources told Wion World is One that an 18-month timeline for withdrawal of US forces from Afghanistan had been agreed upon. If sources are to be believed, Taliban said they first want to be assured by the US that there will be no threat to regional countries, especially Pakistan, and then a ceasefire will take place. Sources added that US Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad asked the Taliban to hold talks with the Afghanistan government that should be aimed at reforms and not for a demand by the Taliban to control Afghanistan. However, Taliban has not responded to this call made by Khalilzad. The overall understanding is the outcome of nearly a week of intense and uninterrupted dialogue between US and Taliban representatives is being closely watched. These meetings have been taking place along with representatives of host government Qatar and Pakistan, officials also in attendance. Let's get in further details now from our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik, who's been tracking the very latest. Anas, significant progress, some forward movement and a headway as far as the complicated Afghanistan peace talks process is concerned. What are you picking up through your sources on the latest?
Absolutely, Molly. There is some headway, there is significant progress as both sides say. Zalmay Khalilzad in his tweets yesterday, last night as well, as he got done from Doha and headed over to Afghanistan, he particularly mentioned this word that significant progress had been made. And in fact, the Taliban, the Afghan Taliban's press release that was issued by Zabiullah Mujahid, their spokesperson, that also mentioned this word, significant progress had been made by their in sitting with their US counterparts. Now, the choice of words is very as one would say that it is very significant, and it actually shows that there has been some headway. Now, what we can confirm from our sources is that indeed there has been an agreement on a draft that had been circulated from the United States. The United States wants to pull out of Afghanistan at the earliest. Earlier we saw statements, and in fact that RAND proposal as well that was leaked, and which was sent to the Pentagon and to the National Security Committee of the United States. It said that the US would want to withhold their bases in Afghanistan even after a complete pullout. That was the main bone of contention that had been causing the stir. And now what we can confirm that pullout has indeed been agreed in about 18 months of timeline. In 18 months of time, a timeline has been agreed upon as well. Roughly 7,000 troops are to be pulled back by this April in about 2 months from now. That is what sources are telling us. And a formal announcement is to be done by the United States President, likely to be done by the United States President. Only then the Taliban will go ahead and announce a ceasefire. Now remember, last night's press release from the Afghan Taliban said that there was no ceasefire that has been agreed upon. Again, Zalmay Khalilzad in his tweet has also said that a ceasefire would essentially include the intra-Afghan dialogue as well. That is something that what Pakistan had been pressing for as well. But by and large, what we can confirm that a ceasefire draft that had been presented has been agreed upon. Now, the Taliban, what sources who were present in the meeting have been telling Wion that Taliban have also been pressing for unfreezing their bank accounts, their assets, delisting their leaders from the United Nations Security Council, and also removing those travel restrictions. Also, in continuation to that, they've also asked for the prisoner release, those who are with the American administration. The American administration has also asked in return for this prisoner release. They've more likely they've asked for a prisoner exchange in exchange for an American professor that is being held captive by the Taliban since 2014. So clearly, it's give and take what the Taliban and US are currently eyeing for, with the US trying to pull out of Afghanistan at its earliest. Yes, Molly.
So certainly multiple roadblocks along the way, Anas, but given these developments and given the back and forth that has been taking place earlier with respect to the Taliban demands, even the stress on Taliban, for example, insisting on an interim government, on the prisoner exchange, as you're pointing out. So all of these are, of course, the differences, or rather the issues that have to be ironed out before some further forward movement is made. But at the next stage now, we see Zalmay Khalilzad is on his way to Afghanistan to consult with the Afghanistan officials. What more do we expect over the next few days?
Well, it's slightly complicated, as you rightly pointed out, because some of the Afghan Taliban leaders are under the custody of the Afghan government and not just the United States. Like as we saw in December, when the 3 days of negotiations were held in Abu Dhabi, which included representatives from Saudi Arabia and the UAE as well, along with the United States and Taliban, we saw the release of Anas Haqqani, the son of Jalaluddin Haqqani, the youngest son of Sirajuddin Haqqani, and the brother of Jalaluddin Haqqani. And Anas Haqqani was being held captive by the Afghan authorities. He was in custody of the Afghan authorities. He was arrested in Khost in October 2014. So most of these prisoners that Taliban have been asking for release, they have been held, they are in custody of the Afghan authorities. So Zalmay Khalilzad, by and large, he has gone back to Afghanistan. Remember, his trip was initially planned from the 8th of June till the 21st of June, or 8th of January till the 21st of January. He was to visit only India, China, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Qatar was nowhere included in his visit. Now, and he's yet to wrap up his visit. So there is an extension on that visit as well by itself. He's gone back to Afghanistan to hold consultations, because if you look at this process, Afghan government is the only government that has been neglected, despite of the fact that it is Afghanistan which is being talked about. Those that they should have been taken on the loop, in the loop, they should have been taken on board, but the Afghan Taliban refused to do so. So that when in Abu Dhabi, what we can tell you from first-hand sources is that when in Abu Dhabi, when Afghan High Peace Council's members tried to enter that premises, and once they got to that corridor where the meeting was being held, the Afghan Taliban refused to come out to let them enter the room, and they had asked them to leave the premises right away. Otherwise, they would not be part of these negotiations. As a reason of which, Saudi Arabia and the United States delegation had asked the Afghan High Peace Council to go to leave the premises, politely asked them. And then later we saw the visit of Umar Dawood Saeed, the Afghan special representative, Afghan president's special representative of Pakistan as well. We saw that phone call by Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. Now, in all of this, they've been asking Pakistan to play their role. What also we can confirm that last week, when Zalmay Khalilzad was indeed in Islamabad, there was a meeting that was scheduled to be held in Islamabad. An 8-member US delegation, along with a 14-member Taliban delegation, alongside a Pakistani delegation of about 6 members. Those who what we know of, it was to be held in Islamabad,
right.
And the Taliban had agreed upon that as well. Only that Zalmay Khalilzad's statement in Kabul that if Taliban want to fight, we're ready to fight, that actually became that point of contention, and for Taliban, as giving a reason to Taliban to backtrack from Islamabad talks. Now, Taliban have to give that resonance to that impression as well, that they're being controlled by Islamabad. The reason they did not, in continuation to that, they did not come to Islamabad despite of repeated call of helps. Now, in these Qatar negotiations as well, if we read out Zalmay Khalilzad's tweet, he's been very carefully pointing out the role of Qatar's foreign minister and his personal involvement. So by and large, the roadblocks that are there, those are not major roadblocks. But one thing that has to be kept in mind that that the Afghan government, the main stakeholders, the territory that is being talked about, that has to be taken in the loop. Something that the Afghan Taliban refused to do so. Yes, Molly.
All right, we're going to leave it there for the moment. Anas, thanks very much indeed. We'll, of course, keep coming back to you as and when further updates trickle in on that developing story.